Dr. Emma had always been an outsider, her brilliance overshadowed by her unconventional ideas. No one took her seriously, not the other scientists at the facility, nor her peers back at the academy. She was a dreamer, they'd said. But today, deep in the heart of a hidden cave system far away from civilization, she was about to make a discovery that would change the world forever. It had started with an anomaly. Something strange had been detected deep underground during a routine survey. A signal, faint but distinct, coming from a location where no known human device could reach. No one had dared investigate it, except Dr. Emma. And now, standing before the source of the signal, her pulse quickened. The glow of the artifact before her sent a strange energy surging through her, filling the air with a hum that seemed to vibrate deep within her bones. The artifact was no ordinary object. Smooth, metallic, and strangely warm, its surface pulsed with energy, as if alive. It looked like nothing Earth had ever seen, an advanced technology far beyond anything mankind had ever invented. The design was simple but intricate, as though it had been made by a mind that didn't think like humans. It was as though it had been waiting for her all along. Emma's hands trembled as she approached it. She had heard the rumors, stories of ancient alien civilizations that had vanished long before humans ever knew how to even dream of space travel. But none of that mattered now. The artifact in front of her was real, and so were the possibilities it promised. She couldn't help herself. She activated the device. The moment she did, everything around her changed. The lights in the cave flickered and buzzed. The air crackled with energy. A deep, resonant hum filled the space, vibrating the very ground beneath her feet. Emma gasped as the artifact seemed to come to life, glowing with a blinding light. Her heart raced as she stared in awe, unable to tear her eyes away from the sight unfolding before her. In that instant, something extraordinary happened. A beam of light shot out from the artifact, piercing the ceiling of the cave and into the sky above. The beam didn't just disappear into the air. It traveled, fast, faster than anything she had ever seen, vanishing into the heavens. Emma stood frozen, a mixture of wonder and fear building inside her. What had she just done? What she didn't know was that the signal she had sent out had not only reached the stars, it had also reached the attention of something far more dangerous. Far away, in a galaxy filled with ruthless empires and powerful alien civilizations, a race of aliens had been watching Earth for centuries. These aliens had long wanted to conquer humanity, to enslave the Earth and take its resources, believing that humans were too weak to defend themselves. But now, they were about to realize how wrong they were. As the beam from the artifact reached deep into space, it caught the attention of the alien empire known as the Zinthar Dominion. They had been waiting for a sign, an opening. The humans were primitive, yes, but they had technology. Now, it seemed, they had something more. And the Zinthar couldn't let that power slip through their grasp. Within moments of the beam's transmission, the Zinthar fleet, huge, menacing ships cloaked in darkness, began their journey toward Earth. They were coming. Back on Earth, Emma was still standing in the cave, staring at the artifact. The light faded, leaving her in stunned silence. But something else had happened. The energy from the device began to ripple outward, spreading across the planet. It was subtle at first, a flicker in the power grid, strange electrical surges in various parts of the world. But then, the effects began to grow more noticeable. Cities all over Earth experienced power surges unlike anything seen before, lighting up in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Advanced technologies, once only dreamt of by scientists and visionaries, began to manifest. Human beings suddenly found themselves with knowledge and abilities they never thought possible. Devices of incredible complexity appeared across the globe, machines that could repair themselves, energy sources that defied the laws of physics, and weapons of unimaginable power. Humans were no longer just a fledgling species struggling for survival. They had access to tools that could rival any civilization in the universe. But all of this came at a cost. Emma felt a chill run down her spine as she glanced at the sky through the cave opening. Something wasn't right. The surge of energy from the artifact was too much, too fast. It was drawing attention, and it wasn't just attention from the world's governments. Far above, in the heavens, the Zinthar ships cut through space, approaching Earth with terrifying speed. They had arrived. The alien ships were not small. Their hulking forms loomed large, each ship capable of wiping entire cities off the map with a single strike. They were a race of conquerors, known for their ruthless efficiency and overwhelming strength. Their cloaking technology allowed them to slip unnoticed into enemy territories, making them nearly impossible to detect. They had wiped out countless civilizations before, and Earth seemed like an easy target. The humans were nothing to worry about. They were weak, primitive. The Zinthar had their advanced eye-controlled drones, massive warships, and weapons capable of obliterating entire planets. They would sweep aside this insignificant planet and claim it as their own. But as the Zinthar fleet entered Earth's orbit, something unexpected happened. The first signs of resistance came not from Earth's governments or military, but from the very technology that had been unleashed by the artifact. The newly empowered humans weren't helpless after all. Around the world, people began to notice the changes. Military forces, once struggling to keep up with global threats, suddenly found themselves with access to technologies that were far beyond anything they had ever known. Scientists, engineers, and even ordinary civilians began using alien devices to build ships, weapons, and defenses on a scale that had never been seen before. Cloaking devices activated across Earth's military forces, making their ships invisible to the alien sensors. Advanced shields began to form around cities and military bases, rendering them nearly indestructible. The alien forces, once so confident in their power, now faced a world that was no longer weak. Emma stood in the cave, looking at the glowing artifact in her hands, feeling the weight of what she had done. The artifact had unlocked a potential within humanity that no one had anticipated. But at what cost? The Zinthar Dominion ships were already on their way to Earth, their fleet coming closer with each passing second. The question now was not whether humanity would survive, but whether they could fight back in time. In that moment, Emma knew that the world had changed forever. The humans were no longer the underdogs. They had something more now, something that could either save them or destroy them. The future of Earth was no longer just in their hands. It was in the hands of the very technology they had unleashed. The battle for Earth had just begun. The air around Earth seemed charged with a dangerous energy. The skies darkened, as if reflecting the growing tension in the atmosphere. The massive alien fleet, numbering in the hundreds, loomed ominously above the planet. The Zinthar Dominion had launched a full-scale invasion, their ships cutting through space with terrifying precision. Cloaked in near invisibility, their warships were nearly impossible to track, their weapons capable of obliterating entire cities in the blink of an eye. Humanity, in the eyes of the Zinthar, was nothing more than an afterthought, a weak, primitive species that would fall easily before their might. Their armies of eye-controlled drones were ready to strike down any resistance, and their advanced technology was far beyond anything humans had ever known. They had underestimated humanity before, but this time, they were certain that the Earth would fall without a fight. But they had no idea what they were up against. Far below, Commander John stared up at the sky from the military command center, a tense expression on his face. His gaze was fixed on the massive holographic display in front of him, showing the movements of the alien fleet as they closed in on Earth. The data was grim. Hundreds of alien warships were now in orbit, their cloaking devices rendering them invisible to Earth's radar. The situation seemed impossible, the odds stacked heavily against them. Yet there was something different this time, something that had changed the course of humanity's destiny. John had seen the transformation firsthand. Just days ago, Earth's military forces had been struggling to keep up with technological advances. But now, things were different. Humanity had unlocked the power of alien technology, a gift from the mysterious artifact Dr. Emma had activated deep within the cave. Across the globe, military leaders, engineers, and scientists had been scrambling to understand and utilize the newfound alien devices, and they were succeeding. Ships that were once vulnerable were now cloaked, slipping undetected through space. Energy shields were activated, shimmering blue barriers encasing Earth's cities and military bases. Advanced weapons, capable of decimating entire fleets, had been integrated into the human arsenal. Humanity was no longer defenseless. John's hands gripped the armrests of his command chair as the first of the alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. He watched as the massive warship came into view, its dark, menacing form blocking out the stars. It hovered silently in space, its immense size dwarfing anything Earth had ever built. A fleet of smaller drones emerged from the belly of the ship, descending toward the planet. "We need to move quickly," John said, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "Activate the cloaking devices. We need to catch them off guard." The command center buzzed with activity as soldiers and technicians scrambled to implement the orders. John knew the human military forces were still learning how to use the alien technology effectively. But they were making progress. Fast. On the ground, the human forces were already preparing for battle. Fighter jets equipped with cloaking technology streaked across the sky, invisible to the enemy, as the alien warships loomed overhead. In the distance, cities were being evacuated, the streets filled with people scrambling to find shelter. The Earth trembled as the alien warships fired their first salvo, sending blasts of energy into the atmosphere. The force of the attack was enough to shake buildings and rattle the very ground beneath their feet. But Earth wasn't just going to stand there and take it. Humanity had changed. They were no longer the underdogs. With a sudden burst of energy, the human fleet activated its own weapons, their ships appearing from the darkness of space, energy beams cutting through the void as they collided with the alien ships. The first battle began in a flash of bright, destructive light. Alien drones fell from the sky, their systems overloaded by the sudden barrage of human firepower. The human ships, cloaked and powerful, slipped in and out of the alien fleet, attacking with surgical precision. John watched with a sense of grim satisfaction as Earth's fighters clashed with the alien drones, their energy beams lighting up the sky. But he knew it wasn't over. The Zinthar fleet was massive, and the odds were still against them. The alien warships were far superior in terms of size and firepower. For every drone that fell, dozens more replaced it. The Zinthar Dominion wasn't going to give up that easily. And yet, in the face of impossible odds, something incredible happened. The human military forces, with their newly acquired alien technology, began to fight back in ways that even the Zinthar had never anticipated. Their ships, once small and vulnerable, now moved with the grace and speed of predators, slipping in and out of the shadows of space, using the advanced cloaking devices to their advantage. Each move was calculated, each strike precise. The alien warships fired their devastating energy beams, but they found that their weapons were no longer as effective as they had been. The energy shields that Earth's military had activated were holding strong, deflecting most of the incoming fire. The Zinthar had never faced an enemy that could withstand their might, until now. But it wasn't just the military that was fighting back. Ordinary people, civilians who had been given access to the alien technology, were joining the fight. In cities around the world, small groups of resistance fighters had come together, using advanced weapons and energy shields to strike back at the alien invaders. These weren't professional soldiers, but they fought with a determination that the Zinthar had never expected. As the battle raged on, John's eyes narrowed in focus. His fleet was making progress, but the aliens were still relentless. He knew they had to do more. The clock was ticking, and Earth's military forces were spread thin. If they didn't take control of the situation soon, it could all be over. But then, a breakthrough came. A Zinthar warship, larger and more menacing than the others, was heading straight for Earth's largest military base. It fired a powerful blast at the base, causing an explosion that sent shockwaves through the ground. The humans had no choice but to fight back with everything they had. In a desperate move, Commander John ordered a full-scale counterattack. His fleet surged forward, cloaked and invisible, as they charged toward the massive alien warship. For a moment, the Zinthar fleet seemed unstoppable, but then Earth's fighters made their move. With the power of alien technology coursing through their ships, they unleashed a wave of energy that sent the massive warship spiraling out of control. It exploded in a brilliant flash, sending debris flying through space. The tide of battle was starting to turn. But the Zinthar weren't done yet. They would fight until the very end. The battle for Earth had only just begun. And as humanity continued to unlock the secrets of alien technology, the stakes grew higher. The Zinthar Dominion may have thought they were invincible, but they were about to learn that Earth was no longer a defenseless planet. Now the fight was just beginning, and humanity was ready to show the invaders that they had underestimated the power of the human spirit. The battle in space raged on, and for the first time since the alien invasion began, the odds were starting to shift. The vast emptiness of space, once filled with the ominous hum of alien warships and the dark shadows of their cloaked fleets, was now alive with the sounds of human technology fighting back. Laser beams, bright and deadly, cut through the void, striking alien ships with unrelenting force. Explosions erupted in the distance, sending shockwaves across space as alien vessels were torn apart by the human counterattack. The humans were fighting back with everything they had, and it was working. Commander John stood at the helm of his flagship, the Valiant, his eyes fixed on the tactical screen in front of him. The Zinthar mothership, the largest and most powerful ship in their fleet, loomed in the distance, a dark and foreboding presence. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Its sheer size was enough to make any ship appear insignificant in comparison. The Zinthar were a proud empire, and they had believed that their technology would be enough to crush Earth's defenses. But they hadn't counted on one thing, the alien artifact that had awakened something within humanity. Now Earth's fleet was equipped with cloaking devices, energy shields, and weapons that were far beyond anything the aliens could have imagined. The tide of battle had turned, and humanity was taking the fight to the invaders. "Commander, we've locked onto the Zinthar mothership's weak points," the communications officer said, his voice tinged with excitement. "Ready to fire?" John nodded, his face grim. The Valiant's weapon systems had been upgraded with alien laser technology, making them far more powerful than anything Earth had ever known. It was time to strike. "Fire!" John barked. The ship's cannons fired in rapid succession, and brilliant beams of energy shot toward the Zinthar mothership. The beams sliced through space, cutting a path of destruction as they struck the alien ship. The Zinthar had never expected the humans to fight back with such ferocity. They had assumed that the humans would crumble in the face of their superior technology. But now, they were beginning to see the full force of humanity's newfound power. The Zinthar retaliated with their own weapons, launching waves of energy blasts at the human ships. But Earth's technology was no longer fragile. The energy shields surrounding the human ships absorbed the incoming blasts, deflecting them harmlessly into space. The human fleet, now cloaked and equipped with advanced weapons, moved with deadly precision, striking the Zinthar fleet where it hurt the most. As the battle escalated, John's eyes never left the screen. The human fleet was pushing forward, their advanced lasers cutting through the alien ships with ease. The Zinthar were being pushed back, but the fight was far from over. The Zinthar mothership was still looming, and it was far from defeated. John knew that taking down the mothership would be the key to winning the war, but it wouldn't be easy. "Commander, we've got incoming drones," the tactical officer shouted. John's heart skipped a beat. The Zinthar had deployed swarms of AI-controlled drones, their movements quick and unpredictable. These drones were the Zinthar's secret weapon, capable of overwhelming even the most advanced defenses. They would stop at nothing to ensure humanity's defeat. "Activate the robots," John ordered. Human-made robots, equipped with alien tech, sprang to life on the Valiant's deck. They were a mix of advanced combat machines and human ingenuity, and they were humanity's answer to the Zinthar's AI drones. Armed with energy cannons and equipped with the same cloaking devices that their ships used, the robots entered the fray with deadly intent. The drones and robots clashed in a vicious fight, lasers flying in all directions. The human robots were a sight to behold, moving with fluid precision as they ripped through the drone swarms. But as the battle raged on, it became clear that the cost of victory was high. For every drone that fell, a human life was lost. "Bonner, take the lead," John shouted to his trusted friend and Lieutenant Bonner. The two men had been through countless battles together, and John trusted him with his life. Bonner was a skilled fighter, and his leadership was unmatched. But as the drones swarmed around them, the unthinkable happened. Bonner's ship was hit by a blast of alien energy, tearing through the hull and sending it spiraling toward the surface of Earth. John watched in horror as the ship broke apart, flames and debris scattering into space. His friend, his brother in arms, was gone. "Bonner." John's voice was a mix of rage and disbelief. He slammed his fist into the console, his eyes burning with fury. Bonner had been more than just a soldier. He had been family. And now he was gone, taken by the very enemies they had been fighting. But in that moment of grief, something changed within John. Bonner's death was not in vain. It was a reminder of the price they were paying for freedom. The Zinthar might have thought they could break humanity, but they had no idea what they were up against. The spirit of humanity, fueled by loss and the desire for revenge, would drive them to victory. "Revenge for Bonner," John muttered, his voice low but filled with determination. "We'll make them pay for this." The battle intensified as the human fleet pushed forward with renewed vigor. The Zinthar mothership fired a barrage of energy beams, trying to take down the Valiant. But John's fleet was relentless. The cloaked ships darted in and out of the alien fleet, striking with pinpoint accuracy. The robots continued to fight, tearing through the Zinthar drones and giving humanity the upper hand. And then, as if by fate, the moment came. The Zinthar mothership was vulnerable. A critical weak point had been exposed, and the human fleet was in position to strike. "Now," John shouted, his voice booming over the comms. The human ships launched their final assault, unleashing a full barrage of laser fire at the Zinthar mothership. The energy beams hit their target with devastating force, cutting through the alien ship's defenses. The mothership's shields flickered and then collapsed, leaving the ship exposed. With one final shot, the Valiant fired its most powerful weapon, a concentrated beam of alien energy that tore through the mothership's hull. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, sending shockwaves through space. The Zinthar fleet, now leaderless and broken, began to retreat. Humanity had struck a blow that would echo through the galaxy. But for Commander John, the victory was bittersweet. Bonner's sacrifice would never be forgotten. His death had become a symbol of humanity's resolve, a reminder of the cost of freedom. And as John watched the Zinthar ships retreat into the darkness of space, he knew one thing for certain: this was just the beginning. Humanity had taken the first strike, and they were far from finished. The war for Earth had only just begun. The universe had changed. What had started as an invasion, with the Zinthar alien empire descending upon Earth with overwhelming power, had turned into an all-out war. Humanity, once thought to be helpless in the face of superior alien technology, had found something within themselves they didn't even know they had. The alien artifact discovered in the depths of Earth's secret research facility had unlocked unimaginable potential, and now, with their advanced technology and newfound strength, humanity was on the offensive. Commander John stood in the command center of the Valiant, the flagship of Earth's fleet, staring out at the debris of the Zinthar mothership. The glowing remnants of the once mighty alien ship drifted in space, slowly being consumed by the darkness of the void. The alien fleet had been decimated, their most powerful ship destroyed in a single decisive strike. Yet, the war was far from over. Despite the victory, John knew that the aliens would not simply retreat. The Zinthar, proud and calculating, would never accept defeat easily. They had tasted defeat, yes, but they were far from finished. And as John stood at the helm of the Valiant, he knew one thing: humanity's fight was just beginning. The alien fleet, now in disarray, began to regroup at their headquarters, a massive fortress orbiting a distant planet in a far-off galaxy. From this command center, the Zinthar Empire had once plotted the annihilation of Earth. But now, they were left scrambling for a plan to salvage their invasion. They had underestimated the humans, and now their arrogance was their downfall. The Zinthar, in their desperation, decided to make one last offer. A communication from the Zinthar Empire was received, and John's heart sank as he saw the message flash across his screen. It was an offer to surrender. "We will negotiate," the alien leader's voice echoed over the comms. "Return the stolen technology, and we will leave your world in peace. This is your final chance. Surrender, and you will be spared." John clenched his fists. The Zinthar wanted Earth's technology back, to erase all evidence of their defeat. But humanity had come too far. There was no turning back now. The artifact, the power it gave them, it wasn't just about technology. It was about survival, freedom, and reclaiming their place in the galaxy. There was no going back to the way things were before. "We refuse," John replied, his voice steady but filled with conviction. "Humanity is not a tool to be used. We will not surrender, and we will not return what is ours. Prepare for the final strike." With those words, humanity's rebellion had reached its turning point. No longer were they the weak, defenseless species that the Zinthar had thought them to be. They were now empowered, united, and ready to take the fight to the heart of the alien empire. The fleet rallied behind John's decision. The Valiant, along with its allies, began preparations for the most daring assault yet. This would not be a conventional battle. This would be a surprise attack, a final attempt to cripple the Zinthar once and for all. Using the cloaking technology they had gained from the alien artifact, humanity's ships would disappear into the darkness of space, undetected. With the aid of super-speed AI, they would infiltrate the Zinthar mothership's command center and disable their power source. John stared at the tactical map, his mind racing. The Zinthar fleet was still formidable, but it was vulnerable now. They had no idea what humanity was capable of. The stakes had never been higher. This was their last chance to secure a future for Earth. "Ready the cloaking devices," John ordered. "We move in darkness, and we move fast. There's no room for mistakes." As the human ships disappeared into the void of space, their movements undetectable by the Zinthar sensors, a quiet tension filled the command center. John's heart pounded in his chest. The fate of humanity rested on their ability to execute this mission flawlessly. If they failed, if the Zinthar were able to counterattack, Earth would be lost. The fleet moved in silent formation, cloaked from enemy radar. It felt almost surreal, as if they were ghosts in the night, slipping past the Zinthar defenses unnoticed. The Zinthar, still reeling from the loss of their mothership, had no idea that the humans were already on their doorstep. They were too busy regrouping, too arrogant to think that Earth could possibly launch another attack. But humanity had learned, and now they were the predators. As the fleet neared the Zinthar mothership's headquarters, the adrenaline began to build. John's mind focused, sharp and clear. He knew that one wrong move could mean their end. The plan was simple: infiltrate, disable the power source, and escape before the Zinthar could react. The mission had no margin for error. The human ships, now within striking distance, activated their cloaking devices once again, making them invisible to the Zinthar sensors. They passed through the Zinthar's defensive perimeter undetected, slipping closer to the mothership with every passing second. The quiet hum of the cloaked ships filled the command center as the crew worked in synchronized silence. Then the signal came. The human ships had reached the outer rim of the Zinthar mothership. The time for stealth was over. "Engage," John commanded. With a sharp burst of energy, the human ships deactivated their cloaks, revealing their position to the enemy for the first time. The Zinthar were caught off guard. Their defensive systems had no time to react before the first wave of human attacks struck. Laser beams sliced through the void, targeting the Zinthar's shields and power generators. Explosions erupted as the alien ships fought back, but the humans were relentless. The human fleet's eye-controlled drones attacked with precision, cutting through the alien defenses like a hot knife through butter. The drones were fast, efficient, and lethal, with no hesitation. The Zinthar's AI systems, once thought to be superior, now struggled to keep up with the speed and adaptability of humanity's technology. For every Zinthar ship that fell, the humans moved closer to their goal. The tension in the command center reached its peak. The final assault was underway, and the Zinthar had no idea how to stop it. "Target the power source," John ordered. The human fleet's combined firepower focused on the Zinthar mothership's core. The energy beams hit with such force that the entire ship seemed to shudder. The once imposing structure began to groan under the weight of the human assault. Sparks flew as the power source began to falter. The Zinthar's defensive systems, already weakened from the previous battle, began to fail. "Now," John shouted. With one final strike, the core exploded, sending a shockwave through the mothership. The explosion was massive, lighting up the dark expanse of space like a second sun. The Zinthar fleet, their main power source destroyed, was left vulnerable and defenseless. As the debris from the explosion floated in the aftermath, the human fleet watched in awe. They had done it. They had crippled the heart of the Zinthar Empire. But this victory, hard-won and costly, had come at a heavy price. Many ships had been damaged, and lives had been lost in the assault. The emotional weight of the battle hung heavy in the air. But in that moment, humanity knew one thing for sure: they had won. And for the first time in history, the universe had seen just how dangerous humanity could be. They had taken the alien technology, used it to fight back, and now they had crushed the might of the Zinthar Empire. Earth was no longer just a planet to be conquered. It was a force to be reckoned with. But John knew the fight was far from over. The Zinthar would regroup. They would retaliate. And humanity's rebellion, which had begun as a desperate struggle for survival, was now a war for freedom. And they would not stop until the galaxy was theirs. The final battle had begun, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Earth's forces had taken a heavy toll throughout the war, but they had one last shot at ending the alien threat once and for all. Commander John stood at the helm of the Valiant, watching the darkness of space as the final assault on the Zinthar Empire's central base began. The alien mothership was just a shadow of its former self, heavily damaged by the previous attacks, but the Zinthar had one last line of defense. Their strongest fleet, positioned above the alien homeworld. The stakes were higher than ever. Humanity had taken significant losses in the past few battles, but they couldn't afford to turn back now. Earth's future was at risk, and the Zinthar would stop at nothing to see humanity enslaved or destroyed. For the first time in a long while, Commander John felt the weight of every decision, every loss, and every victory that had led them to this point. But there was no time to dwell on the past. They were here to finish this war. "Full speed ahead," John ordered, his voice steady despite the adrenaline that coursed through him. "We strike now." The Valiant and the remaining fleet of human ships surged forward, their engines flaring as they accelerated toward the heart of the Zinthar defenses. Behind them, a trail of human ships followed, each cloaked in silence, the hum of their AI-driven drones, the only sound filling their command centers. The alien forces, battered from previous strikes, prepared for one last stand. Earth had learned to wield the very technology that the Zinthar had once used against them. Their cloaking devices rendered them nearly invisible, while the eye-controlled drones now fought with the precision of seasoned warriors. Human ships, equipped with alien lasers and shields, moved with deadly intent, ready to finish what had started in the quiet of Earth's research facilities so long ago. As the battle raged on, John couldn't help but reflect on all they had lost. Bonner, his close friend and fellow soldier, had given his life in the previous assault. Bonner's death still haunted him. His voice, his laughter, the memories of their shared moments in battle, all of it echoed in John's mind. Bonner had been the first to volunteer for the mission that had led them here, the first to step forward and say, "Let's do this for Earth." Now, John fought with the memory of Bonner driving him forward. He had promised his friend that he would see this battle through, no matter the cost. The Zinthar fleet, now facing Earth's fury, retaliated with a ferocity that caught even the humans off guard. Their massive warships, each one a colossal fortress of advanced technology, unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that lit up the heavens. The space around them was filled with explosions, streaks of light, and the deafening roar of combat. The human fleet, despite their new technology, was taking heavy fire. The alien weapons were powerful, and the humans had lost ships as they pressed forward. "Shields up. Hold the line," John commanded, his eyes fixed on the tactical screen. The battle was becoming a blur of laser fire, evasive maneuvers, and AI drones cutting through enemy ranks. But the Zinthar had no intention of surrendering. Their mothership, still looming in the distance, was fully armed, and its power was terrifying. From the corner of his eye, John saw a bright flash. Another ship had gone down. He clenched his jaw, forcing himself not to let the frustration show. The enemy wasn't going to win. Not today. Not while humanity still had breath in its lungs. "We need to break their defenses," John muttered under his breath. "Prepare the orbital bombardment." The order was given, and a moment later, Earth's forces launched their final assault. Hundreds of bombs, equipped with Earth's finest weaponry, rained down from space, targeting the Zinthar's central base on the alien planet. The Zinthar attempted to fight back, but the bombardment was relentless. The massive explosions lit up the sky, each one shaking the ground beneath the enemy's feet. The battlefield, once quiet and serene, was now a chaotic hellscape. The Zinthar's last-ditch defense was a desperate attempt to turn the tide. Their remaining warships fought valiantly, but they were no match for the combined power of humanity's technology and sheer determination. Ships moved in, cloaked and unseen, launching sneak attacks on the alien command centers, disabling key systems, and preventing any sort of effective counterattack. John watched the battle unfold with a sense of grim determination. Every ship that fell, every life lost, was a reminder of the stakes. Bonner's sacrifice weighed heavily on him, but so did the faces of the people back on Earth who were counting on them. He couldn't afford to fail now. He wouldn't fail. With the bombardment continuing to tear through the alien defenses, John's fleet pushed deeper into the heart of the Zinthar stronghold. The atmosphere over the planet was thick with smoke and debris from the destruction. As the human forces advanced, the alien fleet began to break apart, each blast from the orbital bombardment weakening their resistance. The Zinthar, for the first time since the war began, were beginning to retreat. But it was too late. The humans had struck a blow that couldn't be undone. Their technology, their resolve, their unity, it had all come together in this final moment. And there was no turning back. As the last of the alien ships fell, the planet's surface began to crack, the explosions and fires from the bombardment lighting up the sky. The Zinthar Empire, once an unstoppable force, was now a shattered shell of what it had been. Earth had won, and humanity's place in the galaxy had been secured. But for John, the victory didn't feel complete. Bonner's death still echoed in his mind, a constant reminder of the cost of war. The lives lost, the sacrifices made, they would never be forgotten. But as he looked out at the stars, now free from the threat of the Zinthar, he knew they had won. They had secured their future. The final blow had been struck. But this victory wasn't just about survival. It was about something much bigger. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, not as a fragile species to be wiped out, but as a force to be reckoned with. The aliens had underestimated them, and now they had paid the price. The battle was over, but the journey for humanity had only just begun. The aftermath of the war was a mix of triumph and sorrow. The once dominant Zinthar Empire had been shattered, their fleet decimated, their mothership reduced to smoldering ruins. Yet, as Earth's people stood victorious, they could not ignore the heavy toll the battle had taken. The skies, once filled with the terror of alien warships, were now clear, but the world below had been forever changed. Humanity had not just survived, they had been transformed. The alien technology they had fought so hard to acquire was now in their hands, and with it came an incredible power. Their weapons were more advanced than anything Earth had ever seen, their cloaking devices making their ships nearly invisible, their AI drones capable of precise destruction. It was as if the future had been handed to them on a silver platter. But that gift came with a heavy burden. Dr. Emma stood in the midst of the ruined Zinthar mothership, staring at the vast wreckage that had once been a symbol of alien superiority. She could still feel the hum of the alien technology beneath her fingertips. It was a reminder of how far humanity had come. Yet it also whispered a warning. The same technology that had brought them victory could easily turn them into the very thing they had fought against, a force of domination. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burning metal. The destruction was unimaginable, but it was also a testament to humanity's strength. The Zinthar had underestimated them at every turn, and now they were paying the price. As Dr. Emma walked through the wreckage, her mind raced. What would the future hold for Earth now that they had this power? Could they be trusted with it? Or would they fall into the same trap as the aliens, using their newfound strength to conquer instead of protect? She glanced around at the human soldiers and scientists who had gathered around the wreckage. They were tired, their faces lined with the exhaustion of war, but there was also a sense of hope. They had won, but the victory came at a steep cost. Lives had been lost, friendships shattered, and the world was still reeling from the effects of the battle. But there was something else, something deeper, coursing through humanity now. The realization that they could no longer live in the shadows of other species, that they had a role to play on the galactic stage. Commander John, standing off to the side, watched as Dr. Emma surveyed the destruction. His eyes, usually filled with determination, were now clouded with thought. He knew the weight of the responsibility that rested on his shoulders, and he could see it in the faces of everyone around him. The war was over, but the questions about humanity's future were just beginning. The soldiers who had survived the battle were starting to gather, some speaking in hushed tones, others too exhausted to speak at all. The leaders of Earth, who had once been divided by political borders and differences, now stood united. They had fought a common enemy, and now they faced a common future. But what kind of future would it be? John turned to Dr. Emma, who was still lost in thought. "We won, but at what cost?" he asked quietly. She looked up at him, her eyes tired but resolute. "We've gained something incredible, John, but we've also inherited the responsibility of controlling it. This power, it can make us the greatest species in the galaxy, or it can lead us down a path of destruction. We have to be careful." John nodded, his mind racing. The Zinthar had sought to dominate the galaxy, to crush any species that stood in their way. And now, humanity had the same power at their fingertips. Could they use it for good, or would they be tempted to follow the same path the aliens had? As Earth began to rebuild, the world was filled with a sense of cautious optimism. The war was over, but the scars it had left behind would take time to heal. The cities, once ravaged by the alien bombardment, were slowly coming back to life. The rubble was cleared away, and new structures were rising from the ashes. But the true rebuilding was happening within the hearts and minds of the people. Humanity had survived, and now it had to figure out what kind of future it wanted. Dr. Emma stood at the edge of a tall building, looking out over the horizon. The sun was beginning to set, casting an orange glow over the world. She could see the lights of the city below, a symbol of hope and perseverance. But in the distance, the sky was still dotted with the occasional flicker of alien ships, remnants of the war, perhaps, or something more. The universe was vast, and humanity had made a powerful enemy. The Xinthar were not the only species out there, and others might soon come to see Earth's newfound power as a threat. "We've won," Dr. Emma whispered to herself. "But the fight isn't over." Beside her, Commander John stood silently, his gaze fixed on the horizon. He too could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. The Xinthar had been the first, but they might not be the last. The universe was filled with powerful species, some of which might seek to challenge humanity's place in it. "Do you think they'll come for us?" John asked. "It's possible," Dr. Emma replied. "But we're not the same species we were before. We've changed, and the universe is about to find out just how much." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the human leaders gathered in a nearby command center, preparing for the next phase of humanity's journey. They knew the future was uncertain, but they also knew they had the power to shape it. The alien technology, now fully integrated into Earth's infrastructure, gave them an advantage they had never dreamed possible. They had the power to defend themselves, to protect their planet, and to explore the stars. But they also had the power to destroy, to dominate, and to become just as dangerous as the Xinthar had been. The leaders spoke in hushed tones, discussing their next moves. There were talks of alliances with other species, of exploring the galaxy, of ensuring that Earth remained a peaceful planet. But there were also whispers of darker possibilities. Some leaders, driven by greed or fear, saw the alien technology as a tool for conquest. Would they follow the example of the Xinthar, or would they choose a different path? As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Earth slowly began to find its place in the galaxy. The scars of war would never fully heal, but the people had learned from their mistakes. They had tasted the power that came with advanced technology, and they knew that they would never again be the helpless species they once were. But the future remained uncertain. Would they use their power for good, to protect and explore? Or would they fall victim to the same hubris that had led the Xinthar to their downfall? Dr. Emma continued her work, studying the alien technology and its implications for the future. She knew that humanity had a long road ahead, one filled with challenges and decisions that would shape the course of their destiny. But she also knew that they were ready. They had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged victorious. Now it was time to prove that they could handle the responsibility that came with their newfound power. The final scene showed Earth, rebuilding and growing stronger every day. The leaders looked up at the stars, their eyes filled with both hope and uncertainty. In the distance, a faint flicker of alien ships could still be seen, a reminder that the universe was vast and full of unknowns. But humanity, for the first time in its history, stood ready. The future was theirs to shape. As Dr. Emma gazed at the stars, she knew that Earth's story was just beginning. The war was over, but the real journey had only just begun. And she hoped that humanity would choose wisely, that they would use their power not for destruction, but for the betterment of all. The universe was waiting, and Earth had earned its place among the stars. But how they would wield their power remained to be seen.